Welcome, LEAs. This brief training will provide a high-level overview of the Health and Physical Education Assessment, or HPEA for short. I'm Rebecca Harnick, and I work for the Division of Health and Wellness at the Office of the State Superintendent of Education, or OSSE. Today we'll walk through the purpose of HPEA, the assessment timeline, and the individual roles and responsibilities for administration. I'll also cover the tools you'll use to plan for, administer, and monitor the assessment. That includes Integrated Data Submission, or IDS, Box, Alchemer, and Qlik. Let's start with the overview of the assessment. The Healthy Schools Act of 2010 requires that OSSE collects and reports student performance on DC health and physical education standards. HPEA is an annual assessment of health and physical education knowledge in grades 5, 8, and high school. And in high school, that's specifically during the year in which health class is taken. Uses of the data include Healthy Schools Act reporting, tracking progress on performance to health and physical education standards, driving targeted investments through grants, identifying needs for technical assistance supports and community-based organization partnerships, and supporting LEAs to target health education for their student population. This is the assessment blueprint, which is the same as used in prior cycles. You're seeing grade 5 here, but the blueprint is the same for grades 8 and high school. The 7 categories listed here correspond to health and PE standards. The survey tool, Alchemer, will randomly select 3 questions for the student to answer for a total of 21 questions. Next, we'll talk through the assessment timeline, important dates, and roles and responsibilities. The 2023 Health and Physical Education Assessment Administration window is April 3rd through June 22nd, and LEAs can select specific dates within that window to administer their assessment. Let's talk about preparation. A new role was created for HPEA POCs in the last cycle of HPEA. Each LEA should designate an HPEA POC using the IDS tool by March 10th, and this is important because this is how OSSE reaches out to each LEA. By March 15th, please plan to provide your HPEA administration timeline within the April 3rd through June 22nd window. Use the form shared by OSSE via email to LEA data managers, heads of school, and HPEA POCs to share your planned dates. If your dates change after you submit the form, please resubmit them using the same form. Also by March 15th, please identify high school students who have been enrolled in a health class at any point during the 2022 to 2023 school year in IDS. By March 24th, please provide an Excel file outlining all planned accommodations for students with disabilities with individualized education programs, or IEPs, or Section 504 plans. Use the OSSE provided template, which is on OSSE's webpage, and upload the file to Box. Please never email student private information. You'll find links to each of these items in the emails that were shared by OSSE and on the OSSE HPEA webpage. Here's the complete timeline for anticipated action steps in case you'd like to take a screen grab of the slide. We've covered the items of the first 3 in the prior slides, so let's move down to March 28th. Beginning on this date, LEAs will be able to access test ID tickets from Box and distribute them to schools along with the Proctor script and any other needed materials for assessment administration. Because each LEA's test window will be distinct, the final 2 items can be planned accordingly based on your LEA dates. 10 days in advance of the start of your planned window, test to ensure that the survey tool is not blocked on your school's networks. 5 days in advance, ensure that the schools send home letters offering parents the option to exempt their children from completing questions about sexual health. And during your LEA's planned testing window, track HPEA completion rates regularly using the Qlik LEA stream. We'll come back to each of these steps to talk further. The Sexual Health Exemption Letter template is posted on the OSSE website in English, Spanish, Amharic, Korean, Vietnamese, and traditional Chinese. The template is in Word so that you can update the date accordingly based on your LEA or school's planned administration dates. As we've noted, this form should be sent home at least 5 days before HPEA administration. Let's talk about roles and responsibilities. The LEA HPEA POC's roles are to confirm and communicate assessment dates, times, and locations with the school-based proctors and share planned assessment dates with OSSE. As we mentioned, specifically for LEAs serving high school, the HPEA POC will share a roster of high school students who have enrolled in a health class during this school year. The HPEA POC will also ensure appropriate accommodations are feasible for students with disabilities and will provide a list of planned accommodations to OSSE. They will also obtain students' test ID tickets from OSSE and provide them to school-based proctors at each of the schools. They'll ensure proctors have the health assessment proctor script. They'll ensure that proctors distribute sexual health exemption letters and track their receipt. And they'll log into Qlik regularly during the assessment window to monitor completion rates and follow up with schools to ensure completion. The school proctor's responsibilities are to confirm the assessment URL is not blocked by the school's network, to ensure appropriate accommodations are available for students with disabilities, to distribute the sexual health exemption letters and track their receipt, to confirm and communicate assessment dates, times, and locations with the HPEA POC, and to review and follow the health assessment proctor script. If there are any issues with the web page, proctors can work with their school's IT support to resolve any access issues prior to the assessment. And if they're unable to resolve the issue, they can contact the OSSE help desk for more information. Now that we've covered that, we can talk about tools for planning and administering the assessment. We've covered most of this already, but just so that you can quantify it by each section of the assessment window. In preparing for the assessment, we'll use integrated data submission to identify the HPEA point of contact. We'll share planned assessment dates in Microsoft Forms. The high school students currently enrolled in a health class will be shared via IDS. And the exchange of the roster and the accommodations information and test ID tickets will be shared via Box. When administering the assessment, we'll use the Alchemer platform, and reviewing participation rates will take place via Qlik. And when retrieving assessment results, that will also take place via the same tool, Qlik. Let's talk through Box. The Box tool is how LEAs and OSSE will securely share student information. Please never email personally identifiable information as this presents a security risk. If your LEA's HPEA POC has been designated in IDS but doesn't yet have access to Box, please contact our team at osse.schoolhealth@dc.gov. Once OSSE extends access to a new user in Box, the user will receive an email from OSSE, which they should open and follow a link to confirm. For users who may already have access to Box, but specifically not the HPEA folder within it, please also contact me. Once access is granted to an existing user, that user may see a notification in the Box inbox, which they may need to open and accept. And you can see that in the upper right corner here using the bell icon, which has an arrow pointing to it. This is an example of the LEA folder structure in Box from DCPS. There's no personal or school level data here, which is why I'm using this as an example. This is what you'll see when you log into Box and view your two main folders in the system. There's an OSSE to LEA folder and an LEA to OSSE folder. The OSSE to LEA folder is where you'll download materials that contain student level personally identifiable information. And beginning on March 28th, you'll click this folder, enter the HPEA subfolder, and access your student accommodations information. This is also where you'll access the HPEA test tickets. You can print and distribute to assessment proctors according to the timeline you've established. The LEA to OSSE folder is where you'll upload materials that contain student level information. And Again, this is where the accommodations plan will take place. By March 24th, you'll click this folder, then the Health and Physical Education Assessment subfolder, and share your student accommodation spreadsheet. As most LEA data managers should be aware, OSSE centralized LEA POC collection to minimize multiple sources for LEA contacts. As we've shared, OSSE will share communications to the HPEA POCs that are listed in IDS. So please ensure that LEA data managers have reviewed their contacts and updated them. This can be done by logging into IDS using your username and password. If you have any difficulties, please submit a ticket in the OSSE support tool. For LEAs serving high school grades, you will be identifying high school students who have been enrolled in a health class at any point during the 2022-23 school year and are therefore required to take the HPEA. You'll do that using the Integrated Data Submission tool. The IDS user guide is available on the HPEA webpage and has been shared with LEA data managers, HPEA points of contact, and heads of school via email. Once you've logged into the tool, you can download the template for high school students by clicking the download button. And when you've populated all content, click upload to share the student data. If any errors are identified, the tool will share that information. Now we can talk about Qlik. The data manager, as well as the HPEA POC, will have access to the HPEA Qlik tool beginning April 3rd. Please contact osse.schoolhealth@dc.gov if you'd like to request additional users added to this tool. As mentioned, the role of the HPEA POC is to log into Qlik regularly during your assessment window to monitor completion rates and follow up with schools to complete the assessment with full participation. This is the Qlik login screen if you haven't yet logged in previously. And here's the HPEA Qlik sheet. You'll see here these dates are from the prior cycle because it hasn't been fully updated yet for 2022-23 publicly, but the interface will remain exactly the same. You'll have the options that are listed below, and let's start with completion and participation. When monitoring assessment completion rates, you'll have a number of items that you can see here, and I've drawn a box around this for further explanation. But you can hone in by school and by grade level within your LEA to get a better sense of what completion rates are as the assessment is being administered. This tool updates once daily, so you may not see it on the day of, but by the next day it will be up to date. You can also see student level participation. You can see here we've redacted the individual student information, but you can see for each student the score on each subsection of the assessment, as well as the total score on the far right. You can also see which students have not yet started the assessment. And lastly, we can see the results summary listed here too. This includes topic area results, and it can be refined again by school type, grade level, and you can see by section of the test as well. And finally, let's cover the assessment platform, Alchemer. As we've discussed before the assessment administration date, ensure that the assessment site can be accessed on the computers that will be used to administer the assessment using hpea.dc.gov. The browser compatibility is best with Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, and Microsoft Edge. To log a student into the platform, the proctor will enter the student's assessment ID found on the test ticket, which is shown at the top of the illustration here. If a parent has requested exemption from sexual health questions on the assessment, the checkbox must be selected here in the A bracket. Once this has been verified by the health assessment proctor, the student can click the next button, B. If corrections are needed, click Back. Once all of the information is correct, you can click Next. Once you do click Next on this page, you won't be able to go back to the first page again, so please ensure that the information is right before moving past this page. After completing all questions and reviewing their answers, Using the next and back buttons, the student will see a page indicating the conclusion of the assessment. Here's the confirmation page, and you'll see that the progress bar is still only at 92% here. It won't reflect 100% until you've pressed submit. Once you receive a thank you message, you're all set. This will be saved automatically in the system and the student can close out of the assessment. If you have any questions, please refer to the following documents on OSSE's HPEA webpage: the LEA guide for the 2023 HPEA, the health assessment Proctor script, guidance on using IDS, templates for accommodations, and sexual health exemption letters. This webpage link is shared on the upper right and has also been shared via email. And if you have any questions, please contact us at osse.schoolhealth@dc.gov. Thank you for your partnership to make this year a successful one, and we'll look forward to being in touch in the coming weeks.